Jocko, what do you think of Greg Jackson, the famous MMA coach, criticizing John Jones on his recent powerlifting and muscle gain?
Yeah, so if you didn't see this, if you're into MMA at all, they caught Greg Jackson on the mic after John Jones' recent fight, saying, basically, hey, I told you so. He's too big. He's all that powerlifting.
Right.
And I've talked about Greg Jackson before, and nothing but respect for Greg Jackson. Not only is he an outstanding coach and a great tactician, he's also just super humble guy who has built a really cool gym and built a lot of champions. So his record speaks for itself. So I'm not going to second guess, what he's saying about a fighter that he's worked with since day one. And I think really it boils down to this sort of definition of perfection. If you've ever heard this definition of perfection is when you have nothing more to add and nothing more to take away. You've got it where it needs to be. And they use this with design, design of whatever, furniture, of iPhones, of, anything, buildings. When you've got everything that needs to be there and you can't take anything away, that's perfection. They say this about writing too. When you look at someone that writes really well, every sentence, you look at that sentence, you can't take away a word and you can't add a word. Right. And that's perfection. And I think that is what Greg Jackson is trying to do with Johnny Bones Jones. Get him in that physical status where you don't want to add anything and you don't want to take anything away. So what they may have done, according to Greg Jackson, is they may have added a little too much muscle. Because, of course, you got to have some muscle because it gives you strength and explosiveness. But at the same time, muscle requires oxygen. And so you can actually get too big to where it's affecting your cardio. So I think that's all Greg Jackson was talking about, and I think that's the balance I'm always looking for. I want to be big and strong enough, but I want to have endurance. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And I try and find that balance by doing both strength work and endurance work. And when I say endurance, I mean muscular endurance. I don't mean marathon running because I don't run marathons. Metcons, baby. So that's what I think he's talking about. And, like I said, respect for Greg Jackson, and I'm sure that he's got a good handle on why he's saying that. Yeah,
fully. And I do know a little bit about this, where so if you gain a bunch of muscle fast, like over a short period of time, you can have a way harder time dealing with the drawbacks of that muscle, and that is endurance. That's the main thing. And at the same time, this doesn't have much to do with this particular situation, but if you gain muscle real fast, you can lose it. You have the potential to lose it real fast. But at the same time, vice versa, if you cultivate this, muscular body build, whatever, over time, like let's say you started lifting at 15 years old and you're 35 years old now, and you've always been muscular, your body will have a easier time holding on to that muscle if you stop lifting for even a year, or if you stop lifting for a long time and then you get back to lifting, it'll jump right back up as far as your muscularity. So in regards to endurance, no matter what, bigger muscles require more oxygen, more fuel. So it's harder to get that endurance up when you have big muscles, just in general. But you're going to have the potential to gain that endurance way more if you've had muscle for a long time. So you do these big jumps in muscle gain, man, that endurance is going to suffer. It's going to be really hard to build up that endurance, really hard. I'm not saying impossible, but it's just really hard. It's going to take time. Yeah. So yeah, that is a dangerous thing. Not dangerous, but it's a risky thing to do when, I'm going to jump back into the fighting situation and I'm huge now, It's like, that endurance might suffer on that one. And, obviously, or apparently it did there.